I will call to order the Building and Zoning Committee meeting at 9:22 p.m. Welcome everybody who's sticking around. The first
I
item
don't
on
think you should make her wait another hour. She had a technical difficulty. She should be
Sam,
allowed to
we're
speak now.
moving on, Sam.
I'm sorry, Mr. Thacker. The meeting
Yeah,
is that meeting's
Yeah, I
closed.
was having a lot of problems.
Okay, you'll have an opportunity, Ms. Wassall. You'll get
She
your
shouldn't need
time.
to have to wait another hour. That's
No,
ridiculous.
no,
Ex-
right, because I get up at 4:30 to go to work in the morning. I got
As
a
do
quick
I.
question.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
right. So I just got a quick question for you. You know,
Ms.
to say it's
Ms.
a small
Walsall,
group is pretty
Ms.
insulting, but
Walsall,
that's
let me just stop you for a second. Okay. We have an agenda to go through, but I'm going to make an accommodation on a one-time basis to let you provide your comment at the your citizens forum at the beginning of this meeting because of the circumstances and the importance of your comments. But this is the Board of Commissioners meeting. We have to get business done. We cannot start taking things out of order. I apologize, they had technical difficulties. And you would have
what you're
opportunity at the
explaining is
end.
taking up time right now.
I understand.
So let's move on then. Move on.
Excuse me, I will finish. So I will allow for a one-time exception to the rules of the agenda to let you speak, to give you an accommodation. You'll have 3 minutes. Go ahead, ma'am. You're muted. Ms. Walsall, you're still muted.
I don't know why.
You keep unmuting. Yep, there you go. You got it.
Right. So how many people, that's all I need to know is how many people do you need to hear from in order to realize that we're not just a small little group of people on Facebook? I mean, it's obvious that this was not brought out to the public. And I've been living here. We've owned this house for 65 years. I have no intentions like Paula. I'm not planning on moving, but we're getting hit left and right. You took our library away. Oh my gosh, our community center is gone, and now you're taking our pool. And if I recall, we own the property. Cheltenham owns the property there, and we're going to be paying a lease over at Melrose. Can you tell me the dollar amount that we're going to be paying to lease and the acreage that this pool is supposed to be? Like, how much are we losing here that we own, which kind of seems kind of silly to me when you own something that you would sell that, like, I don't know what you're planning to do with that, the Conklin pool, and then go pay rent. I don't get it.
Yeah, we own the property where the Melrose pool would be located. But thank you for your comments, Ms. Walsall. Much appreciated.
So you didn't give me an answer. How many people do you need to hear from?
Anyone who wants to comment.
We're a small group. You give me a number and I'll get you the number.
Ms. Walsall, I suggested that the litigation was prompted by a small group of residents. I do not think, I think everybody has an opinion, and we respect the opinion of all the residents that we've heard from, both in favor of and opposed to the decision that we've made. Okay. Moving on. Thank you for your comments, ma'am. Moving on to item number 1, the zoning hearing board agenda for August 10th, 2026. This is appeal number 26-3818, Ancillae-Assumpta Academy for 2025 West Church Road. Do we have the applicant here?
Good evening, Matt McHugh from the law firm of Claire Harrison, land use attorney for the project this evening. I also have with me a few members of the project team, Shannon Hyback Park from Bowler, our civil engineer, Jeffrey Klein from Kendall Burgett, the architect for the project, and also representatives from Ancillae-Assumpta, including Kerry Harp and Marie Mirabella.
Welcome, everybody. we'll open it up for a very brief presentation of the application and the variances being sought, and then we could certainly open it up to questions.
Sure, thank
Mr.
you.
McHugh.
And if it's okay with you, I'll just go a brief summary. I'll have our engineer show the plan and kind of run through it at a high level, and then we can discuss the specific variances. I think everybody here is pretty familiar with the subject property at 2025 Church Road. It's a slightly under 10-acre parcel, frontage on both Church and Royal Avenue. It's zoned R1 residential. The actual original use approval dates back to 1946 when the property was zoned AA residential under the prior zoning ordinance. And there's a lengthy zoning history here that I'm not going to get into too much detail, but I think it's relevant to know there's been a number of variances, special exceptions, and other interpretations that have been granted by the zoning hearing board as the campus has evolved over the years. The particular application to the zoning hearing board that is before the committee this evening consists of a couple of improvements. One, the replacement of the existing athletic fields with a new field. Two, the construction of an approximately 13,443 square foot building addition and to be used as a gymnastics or a gymnasium athletic facility. Three, the construction of a 2-story parking structure containing 94 parking spaces in the area of the existing parking lot along Royal Avenue. And then finally, the widening of the existing internal driveway from 18 feet to 24 feet in a portion. So Shannon's pulled the plan up. I can have her kind of just orient everybody quickly and run through those and identify on the plan where they're located, and then we can get into the variances.
Yeah,
Ms. Park, would you be able to make that a little bigger?
yes, here I can. Rather sheet here allows it to get a little larger.
Thank you.
Yes, so as Matt said, most of the improvements are on the north end of the site, starting with a building addition of about 13,443 square feet off of the rear of the building, as well as
It's kind of just to orient everybody to the plan. North is Royal Avenue, correct?
yes.
And then south, this is a superimposed or a blown up version. To the south is Church Road.
Yeah, so closer to the Royal Avenue access is the proposed parking garage. It's a 2-story parking garage with a total of about 94 spaces. That's going on place of what is currently a surface parking area. The driveway access that Matt mentioned being widened to 24 feet and straightened out as well. The previous road curved, so it aligns it for a straighter vehicle access through the site. And the proposed athletic field as well, with the in order to keep the athletic field flatter, we did need to propose a retaining wall at the top left-hand corner. Its the total length is about 160 or so feet.
Great. So we have 5 variances that we're requesting as part of the application. I'll just run through those briefly. The first is a variance to permit a front yard setback of 41.5 feet along Royal Avenue, where 50 feet is required. This is solely related to that retaining wall that Shannon identified. The structure, the parking structure is located 50 feet from the right of way, compliant. All of the other structures and buildings are significantly set back from Royal Avenue. So this variance solely relates to the retaining wall that is being installed as part of the field construction. Everything else is compliant with the setbacks off of Royal. The second variance we're asking for is a variance to permit a building coverage of 22.4%, where 15% is otherwise permitted. And that really relates to the parking structure, which takes what was originally a surface parking lot and makes it a structure or a building for that coverage, and then also the addition. So we're seeking an increase of 32,000 approximately 32,000 square feet in building coverage. The third variance that we're asking for is a variance to permit an impervious surface ratio of 44.3%, where a maximum of 35% is permitted. We're increasing approximately 15,000 square feet of impervious. That's directly related to the building addition and then also the driveway widening. I think it's important to note here that the property is non-conforming. It currently has an impervious surface ratio of 40.6%, and we're going up to 44.3%. As part of the land development process here, there will be stormwater management upgrades compliant with township stormwater ordinances and NPDES permitting required, we think, which will be an overall improvement to the existing stormwater in the area. The fourth variance we're asking for is a variance to permit the internal driveway width of 24 feet where 18 feet is permitted. That's along that internal driveway that goes from Church to Royal Avenue. Right now, there's a little bit of a bottleneck occurring during pickup and drop off when buses are queued in that area waiting for to drop off or pick up students. And as a result, it ends up backing up the Church Avenue parking lot and resulting in a backup along Church Avenue or Church Road. So as a result, we're looking to allow that driveway widening to allow for cars to access the upper parking lot to Royal Avenue, where they're able to access the parking lot or do drop off and pick off up there. So the 24 feet in drive aisle width will allow for the necessary width to allow for that circulation and not cause the buses to block up and queue and cause a backup along Church. I'll note, because we have residences on Gribble to the right, we're maintaining the existing curb line there. We're not reducing the width of the buffer between them and the plantings that are along those houses, between the houses and the school, will remain, and we'll look to supplement those as part of the land development process. Finally, the last variance we have is a little unique. It's an appeal of the determination of the zoning officer and a variance in the alternative. There's a provision in the zoning code that only allows us to have surface parking a maximum of 120% of the required parking. That's under the surface parking provisions. There's a 1999 zoning hearing board decision that set the parking requirement for this property at 124 parking spaces. We're proposing 178 with the new parking garage. The 120% would limit us to 149. We don't believe that there's any restriction or 120% when you involve a parking structure like the one we're proposing. So in any event, however the decision is made, we're looking to increase the parking on the site to 178 parking spaces. And that exceeds the 120 of the minimum or the maximum requirement. So some relief is needed there. Ultimately, we believe it'll help to address concerns regarding parking in the neighborhood during larger events that the school holds. And so, however, it's the zoning hearing board ultimately handles it. We're just seeking the relief to allow for that additional parking on site. So that's a very high level summary of the application. We're happy to answer any questions that the committee may have. We have project representatives, again, civil engineer, architect, and representatives from the school as well that are available to answer any questions.
Thank you for that presentation, Mr. McHugh. I'm going to just ask a couple of preliminary questions. I'll turn it over to my colleagues. I sort of understand the playing field, but what prompted the desire to increase parking on site, almost by 50%? Is there something in particular that prompted it, or is there or some other reason, or is it something that's been long?
I think it's primarily, this is an established school that's located in a residential neighborhood, and some of the concerns we've generally heard over the years have been related to backup along Church, but also during larger school events, whether it's a concert, play, whatever's going on, where there's a large number of parents and family coming to the property, concerns about parking within the neighborhood. So going to this, utilizing basically the existing parking area along Royal and turning it into a two-story structure, adds an additional, number of spaces for us to help accommodate all of that on site and not burden the surrounding neighborhood.
Have you conducted any studies that would suggest that people will park less in the neighborhood if there's a parking structure there? Because it seems to me that folks who park in the neighborhood are going to park in the neighborhood anyway, just to get out quicker after they're done.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we've conducted any particular studies. We have engaged a traffic engineer, happy to, get his opinion on it. But I'd imagine folks generally look for proximity. If they can park on the site nearest to the buildings that they're going to be going to, that's always the preferred route. And I think this provides, some additional capacity for that.
My last question is, in terms of, as you mentioned, Mr. McHugh, it is a residential neighborhood, and it's sort of a tight neighborhood in terms of spacing. Has the applicant talked with, held community meetings with the neighbors in order to get feedback to see if there are any concerns? And to the extent you have had those meetings, can you just give us a brief overview of how you've addressed those concerns in this particular design?
Sure. So yeah, the school has held some community meetings. They've walked the property with some of the neighbors, and I believe some of them are probably here this evening, and they'll give you their take. But from what I've heard from the feedback from those meetings, as well as the planning commission meeting we had the other week, a primary concern is stormwater management. That'll obviously be dealt with during the land development stage, and we're happy to continue to address that. And the other part is, obviously visual screening and buffering and maintaining these. So we've designed the project in a fashion that's not going to reduce the existing buffer area, and they've committed to, supplementing that buffer and screening where necessary. We'll continue to work with both the township and the neighbors in figuring out how that's implemented.
Got it. Okay. Well, that's appreciated. And it seems to me that a number of those issues would have to be addressed in land development, right? Like traffic, which is a big concern, as well as buffering. But I did hear you say that the applicant would be amenable to improving the buffering and that sort of thing. And I was just wondering sort of what you have in mind in that regard. And is that something you'd commit to as one of the conditions for the, the zoning hearing board process?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think we would certainly be willing to agree to supplement the existing buffer, to the reasonable satisfaction of township engineer or the board. However, what'll happen when we get into the land development, we do a little bit further detail on the drawings with landscaping plan and grading. We'll have a better idea of exactly what's out there, and then where it can be filled in, and what's going to be something that will grow and thrive there and act as that appropriate visual screen and buffer. But so we're committed to certainly incorporate those into the land development plans as we work through this process. And I think the commission, the committee is certainly aware, but for the residents, this is step one in a long process. We're going to have to go through zoning. We'll be back if the zoning is approved to go through land development. There's much more detailed drawings on things like stormwater management and landscaping and screening that will go through the process as well.
Thank you, Mr. McHugh. I appreciate you answering my questions. Any other comments or questions from the board? I know this is in Commissioner Lewis's ward. So Commissioner Lewis, you want to exercise the privilege?
So let me say this. I appreciate and support progress, new development, um, but it's important that in that process we protect the character of the neighborhoods, that we protect our residents' homes that they have committed major investments to. Um, we talked about traffic, we talked about storm water. So it's important that we meet the needs of the residents. And when I look at the five variances, um, you can look at them individually, but I want to understand the cumulative impact, if you will, of those five variances. What what will come of that? What will it change the look of the neighborhood? What are you trying to do? Is this resolving the traffic problem that we have today? And if so, are we addressing one problem but creating others? I know I've said a mouthful, but it's very, very important that we protect the character of the neighborhood. When we talk about two-story parking, um, you know,
Yeah, and so certainly, and we agree with you 100%, Commissioner. It is, the school is an integral part of the neighborhood. It's been there for a long time, and they want to be a good neighbor, and they want to make sure that as the campus continues to evolve for changing needs, that they're also respecting the surrounding neighborhood around them and mitigating and addressing whatever concerns or impacts are done. So when you look at, I think the parking and the drive aisle with variance, they're really intended to address one, the backup on Church Road during the busy pickup and drop off times when buses are queuing, and then also to address concerns about parking in the neighborhood. I mean, that's what those are intended to address, and they're directly related to reducing what we believe to be an impact that the school is having on the surrounding neighborhood, and trying to, making sure we're accommodating the intensity of our use on the site as a whole and not letting it spill over to the neighborhood. And that's something that those variances directly relate to that. The impervious, the building coverage, they more relate to the need that the school has, but then with it comes, I think, benefits or improvements to the property. We are adding impervious. We're replacing the field. It's not going to be an impervious, that'll be a pervious material that's utilized, but there's going to be stormwater management upgrades that come with that additional impervious that don't exist on the site right now. So I think that although we're increasing impervious or building coverage, there's going to be an overall improvement to the stormwater management, and all of that will be it'll be designed by our engineers, it'll be reviewed by your engineers, it'll be reviewed by PADEP to make sure that we're meeting or exceeding all of the regulatory requirements and not creating a greater issue. And we believe will actually reduce the rate and flow coming off the site.
before we go to my colleagues, I do want to ask this question. The variances are really significant, and I think President Armin alluded to. I mean, one of the variances is almost like 50%.
So that's, yeah. I mean, and that's that one is just related to the parking, right? And I really don't think the intention of the ordinance is why we have it as an appeal also, because we don't agree with the interpretation. It says, I think the intent of it is to limit impervious surface. They don't want to, your ordinances don't want a sea of asphalt parking. So they don't want you over parking your site. But when you do it in the fashion that we're doing, which includes a parking garage or a parking structure, we're not adding additional impervious associated with the parking structure. It's really just providing more capacity on space. And it's a costly improvement for the school to make. Most developers, property owners aren't willing to invest in a parking structure to make sure that they are keeping and maintaining their site or the traffic activity on their site. So I really think when you look at that one organically, yeah, the number may look big, but we're really creating an improvement by adding additional parking on site so it's not in the neighborhood. The other ones, I think when you look at the scope of them, they're not quite as significant. And you also have to remember this is a residentially zoned property, but it's an institutional school use. So we're being judged against single family homes, which is not what we're operating the property at. So while we need a little bit more impervious and building coverage, we're being restricted to what other single family homes are. And we've got more land, but I think the scope and size of the development is pretty reasonable under the circumstances.
I have more questions, but Mr. President, take it away.
Thank you, Commissioner Lewis. Commissioner Stein.
Okay. I have two main areas. The first one is I understand stormwater management is Saldo, not zoning, but it's in the area of the retaining wall that's proposed, and that is part of these variances. Right now, there's roughly a 18 to 24 inch sort of outlet pipe coming off of your field and onto Royal Avenue. It discharges about at the height of the field and then seems to be creating some sort of erosion coming down the slope onto Royal. I know there is some street flooding issues on Royal right now in the current storm conditions. So what is the plan for that outlet? How does that relate to the changes to the field and the retaining wall?
So I'll let Shannon answer in a minute. I'll just note we haven't fully designed the stormwater management yet, but this again project provides an opportunity to look at and correct some of those issues where if improvements aren't being made, there's no obligation to do that. So Shannon, I don't know if you're able to answer that any better than I was.
Yes, I can provide a little more detail there. So we are looking to get some additional survey to understand exactly what the existing conditions are with regards to underground utilities and those pipe connections. But ultimately, what our plan is for stormwater is to implement an underground basin for the stormwater management, which would have a connection to the main. There would not be an outflow. So we would be looking to understand what that issue is and then hopefully correct it. And would also say that a lot of this area right now, where the area of improvements are, especially the parking garage and drive aisle, those are currently just flowing out to the street. There isn't really management of that outside of the small above ground basin, which we believe goes to that pipe that you mentioned. So a lot of that would be brought to the underground basin, which would then have connections to the existing storm mains, not flowing into the street in that current condition.
Okay, thanks. And then the other question, I listened in at the Planning Commission last week, and they had a lot of questions about your traffic flow, and I was really hoping to hear answers here, and you haven't presented any of that. So, I'm really skeptical that the driveway widening is the minimum relief you require to solve your bus issue. The view you're showing right now of the plan doesn't show at all your whole front part, the Church Road adjacent portion of the property where you have a separate loop of traffic. And so I'm wondering why have you explored solving your bus delay issue in that loop, especially given you are adding significant amount of parking on the property, even if you had to take a couple of spots from the front. That would allow you to solve the queuing on Church Road problem, have your buses discharged with students on the correct side of the street so that they're not crossing across traffic, which was the Planning Commission's concern. And do that without widening your driveway, which adds to more impervious coverage. So, have you explored that?
Yeah. So after the Planning Commission meeting, the first thing we did was engage a traffic engineer to get their opinion on this. And that was something that we weren't planning on doing until later in the project. We got to land development, but we've accelerated that process. We've had a couple of meetings with them to try to understand various solutions and alternatives to addressing the circulation issue. The one thing I'll note is there is concern with the ability for the buses to utilize that front parking area and get through, circulate and then get back onto Church. There's a stone wall in that area. There's concerns about the circulation and the turning templates that would be associated with that. So we're continuing to evaluate that option, but we're also looking at other ways to make the drive aisle issue that was raised by the Planning Commission safer, whether it's through bollards or utilizing some sort of dedicated bus lane and various other safety measures. I just don't have a definitive answer on how that's going to be addressed at this time, but I can tell you that we're continuing to look at it and are committed to making sure that however it's circulated, it's going to be done in a safe manner.
Yeah, and I don't know that I meant that the buses would take that sharp turn and go back out onto Church Road, but if your problem is that cars can't pass a bus while a bus sits and waits, if a bus could wait in that front loop, your cars could come in and do pick up and pull out onto Royal, and then your buses could also continue out onto Royal. So I guess my concern with the variance for the driveway widening is that, if we take no action or we support that portion of the variance now, that may be more relief than you really require, and we may end up with more impervious coverage than is necessary to solve the problem that you stated at the Planning Commission you were trying to solve.
Yeah. So I mean, our intention with that variance is to try to address the backup onto to Church, like the existing way that we're circulating throughout. I mean, I don't know that it has a negative impact on the school property. We can continue to do it. It's really trying to address an external impact. So if the desire,
I've been stuck in that backup before, trying to go straight while people are waiting to turn into the school.
We're open to suggestions. We're trying to really address the Church Road project problem. So if the desire is to save a little bit of impervious and still have that backup on Church, that we're happy to look at that as well. But I mean, we're still continuing to brainstorm. We've got another professional looking at this to give their options and evaluate sort of what the best way to move this forward is.
Yeah, my last comment is, to be clear, I do not want you to continue the backup on Church. I'm asking that you look at all of the other areas on your property that are already paved that you could use before you ask for more impervious coverage with a variance.
Understood.
Yeah. Thank you, Commissioner Stein and Mr. McHugh. Just to continue on that line, I appreciate that you and the applicant are looking into these other things, but it sort of puts us in a tough spot, right? To approve or to support or to take no action on something where we're just not able to get the full picture of whether there is a hardship, whether there's a need for a particular variance, in particular because I think we have a mutual interest to address those traffic issues, particularly on Church. And it doesn't quite sound like all the due diligence has been completed, and maybe it just requires more time, and that's understandable. But to come before us today with promises of, hey, we'll look into it, and I'm not being flip about that, sort of puts us in a tough position to make a decision on this application. But I'll leave it at that.
What I will say, I'm sorry, our intention was to continue to operate the property and the drop off and pick up in the same manner that the school has historically done it, just providing additional width to allow for cars to to be able to access the Royal Avenue portion of the property. That was our operational plan. There was questions raised at the Planning Commission as to the safety of that, anytime safety's invoked with children, we're going to obviously take it as serious as possible and try to see if there's improvements we can make. But the overall plan, as I sit here today, is to continue to have buses load and unload during that on that internal driveway, have the availability for vehicles with the additional lift to access them. That'll be monitored and patrolled by staff during active loading and unloading times. If committee has the same concerns that the planning commission does and isn't willing to support the variance, then we're happy to continue to look at and incorporate additional alternatives.
Thanks for that response, Mr. McHugh.
Sure.
Commissioner Cherico. Yep.
Sorry, I've been doing this all night. I guess I'm sort of confused because you started your presentation saying that you're trying to help solve a traffic problem that the township has experienced, and then you tell us that you haven't engaged until this week, a traffic study or a traffic engineer to take a look at this. And so I have a tough time, I think, like Commissioner Aram and maybe Commissioner Stein, seeing these plans and knowing, wait a minute. You put up this parking garage, you want the widened driveway, but is that even going to fix the problem? And that's where I'm a little concerned. I also have concerns about the impervious surface. I hear you, and I'm not going to get into the weeds. I'm anxious to see, I guess, during land development, exactly what you'll do to address stormwater runoff here. But that's my other big concern, but that's it.
Thanks, Commissioner Cherico. Commissioner Shermy Walls.
I'm just feeling as though this entire part of the process is a little premature. And my one big concern is that it doesn't feel as though, if you are a good neighbor, the surrounding community has been engaged in the way that they should be engaged for a project of this size. I'm reading the comments in our comment section, and there are a number of neighbors that live directly adjacent to the property that don't feel like they've heard about it until at the very last minute and have some real concerns. And so I would challenge you to think about how the immediate neighbors can be included in this process and in the conversation, because you mentioned that it is your zone for residential, because you're in an area that is highly residential. I think that's a missed opportunity.
Thank you, Commissioner Shermy Walls. Carrie Harp.
I just wanted to respond to the community engagement. Ancillae did notify neighbors that it were immediately around the property and invited them to a meeting back in January. We hosted 2 different meetings with neighbors, both on the Mulford side and the Grabell side, to share our plans, get feedback and insights from them on what their concerns were. And we looked at those as we continued through, adjusting, kind of looking at the widened driveway or their concerns about the buffering and stormwater management. And then those neighbors that we had heard from, we then also moved and had our engineers our architects come out and walk with them through the driveway and talk through the plan with them and their concerns as well. So we may not have had all of the neighbors attend those meetings or reach out to us, but we did start back in January with sharing with our neighbors what our plan was and asked for them to share with us their thoughts so that we could partner together as we brought this to the application.
Thank you. I appreciate that response.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments from the board? All right. I'll take I'll send it to Commissioner Lewis for a motion. But before I do that, Mr. McHugh, is there any way that you or your client would consider sort of coming back to us at a future date when some of these I's are dotted and T's are crossed in terms of whether the variances that you're seeking actually are going to address and perhaps resolve some of the particular the traffic issues, and also quite frankly, the even though I understand that land development covers the stormwater management part of this, I think Commissioner Stein raised a good point about the discharge pipe and how that plays into the variance that you're asking for the wall. And then lastly, the sort of communications with the neighbors, which understandably may have happened, but to sort of get a better feel for what it is that we should anticipate seeing in terms of buffers when we do come to that time. Is that something that you and your client would be willing to do?
Yeah, that's certainly obviously there's we'll endeavor to provide as much additional information as we can, given the stage we're at, but we're happy to postpone the zoning hearing a month, come back before this committee in advance of that and provide some additional detail and continue the community engagement as well.
That would be appreciated. So I'll move to I guess Mr. Diazio, please advise if I move to table this to next month, or just the applicant's agreement to ask for an adjournment till next month suffices.
It can certainly be tabled till next month, since we have a commitment from the applicant that they'll come back next month.
Okay, so I'll move to table this matter next month to give the applicant and Mr. McHugh a chance to come back with more fulsome responses to the inquiries that were raised. Any comments or questions on that motion?
Matt, it does look like there's a gentleman from the public that would like to comment on this as well, just so you don't.
Okay, I would have missed it. I don't see. I'm going to go to Commissioner Stein first, and then I'll open it up to the public. Commissioner,
Right.
Other board members
sorry,
that are public.
That's
okay.
that's what I was going to say. Just that I don't think we took public comment on this. I think the one person that spoke was from the school, not from public.
Okay.
And
thank you.
I'll have a final comment before we move. But who wants to?
Okay, so I made a motion to table this for a month. Any other commissioner comment? Commissioner Lewis, you want to?
Yeah.
Yep.
Very, very important that the neighbors are more engaged. And 2 or 3, I know it's not your responsibility to go door to door to get people to come to a meeting, but we have to get as many neighbors as possible in a meeting and keep them informed, hear their concerns, and respond to them in writing. It's a must, because I'm still getting calls. You're obviously doing a lot of work, but I'm still getting calls and still getting emails. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Lewis. All right. Any other board comment on the motion? Okay. Public comment. Ms. Schott.
Yes. I would like to.
I'm sorry.
Is this
Are you related? Is there a relation?
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Wait,
Go ahead and talk.
do we each get 3 minutes, or how's this work?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Mr.
We did. All right. So one of the things I'd like to comment on is, what is the need for a gym when back in 1999, the same, institution came and got granted the right to build a gym. And in that agreement, there was parking that would be available at the McDevitt site, and that was, accepted by Ancillae-Assumpta Academy. And if that, parking went away, they were obligated to inform the township that they no longer could do that. So I don't know that the township has been made aware that that parking is no longer available. And there's ample parking in that parking facility, more than the number of parking slots that they want to put up, and diminish the value of the homes. The school has the school been paying fees for stormwater runoff through the years, right? And will these fees continue as the issues going forward are escalated by, the accelerated, coverage of non-permeable surfaces? How can we believe a petitioner now when they have proven track record of not fulfilling the agreements in the past zoning petitions? The point in case is the agreement in place with the McDevitt location for parking and not putting up signage for traffic flow through the neighborhood for non-residents. From Sinkler down Royal, around the corner down Bickley, to drains at the Tookenny Creek itself, there are no drains on the street. So all the stormwater runs down Royal Avenue, around the corner, and around Bickley before it even has any access to a drain. So I don't know what they're talking about that they're going to, provide underground storage.
Mr. Schott, thank you for your comments. Mr. McHugh, I assume you're taking notes. Those are probably comments we'll want to make sure that we have some responses for next month.
Understood.
Thank you. Someone muted me. So how dare you? Anyway, Ms. Tucker, Mr. Schott, I think you'll have to mute yourself. We're getting some feedback.
Well, my wife wants to talk.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Ms. Schott.
Okay, thank you. So I had a lot of questions. Is there a time limit that I have here?
3 minutes.
Okay. So I'd like to see things consistent with the 1999 zoning review findings of fact, with the residential structure design, that the buildings will be faced in masonry zone and will be designed consistent with the exterior of existing buildings on the premises. Noise relief consistent with the findings of fact. Property boundary distance consistent with the findings of fact. I'm also concerned for high density screenings. I don't know to the extent that township ordinances apply or they can be required along the perimeters, along Royal Avenue and the backs of the homes along Mulford and Rebel. I haven't seen a side view rendering of the full perimeter along Royal Avenue, and I imagine people would also like similar along Mulford and Rebel, their views. And the top view figures that appear, that I've seen, they're pictures. They're not site plans. And the ones that show the exterior homes and across the street from Royal Avenue, I'd like to see that not be pictures, the ones that are on your website. And the website, thank you for the letter. I want to thank you. I can't find the access unless you would have told me what the access was. I have 3 minutes. I have concerns for odors, visual impact to our neighborhood, traffic flow. So have you considered dedicated parking lot dedicated to buses, moving the drive to the west side of the school so students can exit directly to the school, establishing separate paths for the cars and buses? And this happened in my husband's small hometown. During events they have there, they promote right turn only access and departure when they have to get traffic out of the town during large events. I also would like to understand to what extent Ancillae has worked with the police in the township to determine a qualified expert that can safely control traffic at both access ways along Church Road. I saw a lot of stormwater runoff in the last week after the storms. This was long after the storms. Coming along the entire perimeter of multiple locations along Royal Avenue. Not just the stormwater pipe. I'd like to see they discussed that they're having some assessment. I think they need some assessment of existing conditions of stormwater runoff. Not just that little corner. That there's a need for control. There's a hill there that it drops off, and there's multiple locations where it discharges. Somebody needs to assess that and to any
Ms. Schott, thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Schott. Ms. Tucker.
Hi, I live right at the end of Royal Avenue, right there at the corner, right there where you come out the driveway. My driveway is right actually next door to that driveway of the school. And I'm more concerned about if you're having traffic coming down Royal and going into the school, then if I want to come out my driveway, how much traffic is going to be coming out of there? Plus, I was never informed of this. Actually, Ms. Scott is the one who informed me of this structure being built and what's being done at the school. So I was never told. I'd never seen an engineer. Nobody never came to my house, and I was never told about this. And I'm right there at the corner of Gribble and Royal Avenue.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Tucker. We'll ask the applicant to ensure that they include you on their neighbor notifications when they're going to have meetings.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. McHugh. Any other comments or questions? All right, we have a motion on the table to table this matter for 1 month. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. McHugh. Thank you to the applicant. We look forward to seeing you again next month.
Thank you for your time this evening.
Yep. All right. Moving on to item number 2, zoning hearing board decisions. There's one for our review. It's appeal number 26-3816, Burlington Stores, Inc. at 2471 Cheltenham Avenue. Do we have someone who's going to tell us about this decision? Manager Elliott.
I can. So this is an application for some sign variances as they update their branding. The zoning hearing board did review it, and they approved or granted the variances with regular minimal conditions.
I believe this is in, is it Commissioner Lewis's
I believe so.
ward? Commissioner Lewis, do you have a motion?
No
I assume
action.
no action. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Any comments or questions on the motion? Public? All right. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. Item number 3, receipt of the monthly Citizens Committee meeting minutes. The Planning Commission met on July 27th, 2026. Those minutes are attached. Comments or questions on those? All right, I'll move for acceptance. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. There was no Bahar meeting, so we'll pass over that. Item number 4, staff reports for June 2026. We have the Planning and Zoning monthly reports, the report of the building inspector, and the report of the code administrator. Are there any comments or questions from the board on any of those reports? All right, see none. How about from the public? All right, no questions? Oh, yeah, no questions. I thought I saw somebody's hand go up. Then I will move for receipt of those staff reports. All in favor say aye.
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 Old business, we have no agenda items for old business. Is there any old business from the board? Going once, twice, closed. Any new business? Okay. Item number 7, Citizens Forum. Anyone for Citizens Forum? Mr. Thacker, please.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
I just wanted to give you all a chance to kind of clarify clarify something on the record. Disparity between the parcel of land that was gifted to the township by Melrose was announced at the December 17th Board of Commissioners legislative meeting. It was announced as being a municipal amenity, big generic municipal amenity and it was suggested that the township would have adequate time to consider this, right? It was cited, the parcel was always cited in the phase 2 development footprint, but Solicitor Diazio at that very meeting said that it would come forward, the municipal amenity plans would come forward as part of phase 3. That still hasn't, phase 3 still isn't public and hasn't gone through the approval process as far as I'm aware. So I assume that the zoning appeal that was issued March 4th, or that was considered at the March 4th Building and Zoning Committee meeting, was somehow to get the pool from phase 3 into phase 2 or into the phase 2 footprint. But it, as far as I can tell from the minutes and the document attached concerning the parcel, it was always in the phase 2 footprint. So I'm wondering if you can explain that disparity, one, and then second. In that very zoning appeal that I'm referring to from March 4th, it says that the township was gifted the parcel with the intention of building the municipal pool. But you said from December through March into April until the decision was published in a township press release that no decisions had been made. You referred to it as a generic community amenity. I'm wondering when the decision was made to build a pool, why, and if it was the township's intention since December as a legal document filed by the developer as a zoning appeal in March describes in paragraph 6 of that document. Why didn't you share that with the public? So I just want to give you guys a chance to respond to that on the record.
Thanks for your comment, Mr. Thacker. I don't know that I have a specific answer for you. But thank you for your comment. I'm sure those questions you could certainly ask in your litigation as well.
The litigation
okay.
doesn't concern that matter. It concerns the unbid contract.
Okay. Any other public comment or citizens forum for this evening? All right, seeing none, I will move for adjournment. It is 10:19 p.m. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye.